It takes more than guts to be a gangster. It takes good ideas, and I hope these ideas help you. Hey, what's up, guys? It's your mob boss, GangsterKT, and today we're going to do a video where the mob's just having a discussion again. Second time doing this one, but lots been changing recently. Wanted to talk about Quicksilver, his release, and then how he will affect the meta going forward. Also wanted to talk about the forced upgrades, and I know a lot of people are talking about those right now, but a few different views of that, where those are coming from, and it sucks. Don't have anything else to say about it. But after that, finally want to do a kind of a react video on Pathfinder Gaming's gold promo top 15 list he did recently. So I think Pathfinder Gaming is the man. He's got great advice and wanted to go through his list versus recreating one, let you know what I agree with, maybe a few things that I would change, and go through that. So let's get right into it. So first off, I want to talk about Quicksilver. I'm sure everyone knows how he was released at this point. Accidentally going into the mail rewards if you hoarded them from last Crucible season. So just reinforces the point to hoard everything, which I'm sure hopefully you're doing at this point, even though it's not the most fun thing to do. So that's how everyone, or not everyone, but that's how some people got them. It sounds like they will be sending out compensation for those who didn't get them, which is understandable, but I can also understand why people who purchased them may be upset by this and upset that people who didn't buy them are getting him at the same time. So this is just an absolute mess. It's on such an important character for Scopely, and to the point everyone's going to roll their eyes and take this with a grain of salt, but I almost feel bad for him. You know, they've lost to Dono Mac recently. They're just getting beaten up. I assume the sale's going through, and there's probably nothing in this game that would be big enough to impact that. But just a lot of negatives, and they could have really used a big win. Also, I think a lot of people assumed Quicksilver was going to be maybe $70 for 100 shards. You know, they just increased the price, and everyone was saying, oh, great character like this, it's going to be even more. But the pricing for Quicksilver was actually pretty reasonable. And I think that's because he will be available free to play fairly soon and fairly quickly. The release is very player friendly. But even then, I thought his pricing was fair. And then again, this whole release just got completely botched. So do almost feel bad for Scopely. They could have used a win on this one. I thought they were fair with the pricing. And just another release. Now, again, with that saying, I feel bad, but this is their own fault, right? Lack of QA, lack of testing this. This one might have been a little difficult with the retroactive in the mailbox and how it worked, but still, they should be catching these things. It shouldn't happen, so don't feel too bad for them there. So now that we have Quicksilver, or will soon, where are we going to use him? And I think that answer is everywhere. So he's going to be great. There's no question. I think everyone knows that. Some people, I think, might be diminishing him a little bit. You know, like saying, hey, his red stars might not be as valuable as the legendary coming up. But this guy's going to be amazing, and just do not diminish the value of someone getting 2 turns in a row all the time in a turn-based game. So it's not only him. I had a match in real-time arena earlier where I used his first attack on Doom. Doom popped. But then Quicksilver's second attack wiped Doom. So there's just going to be a lot of great uses for 2 attacks with Quicksilver himself. But I think as we get more familiar with him and do more theory crafting, it's also going to be other characters that have turn-based mechanics. So, you know, someone like Big Boy Apocalypse getting the, I think it's 5% healing every turn there is. And there's just quite a few things out there that are based on having a turn or based on an ally's turn. And Quicksilver is going to be triggering those so much more frequently. So it's more than just him. As we get creative and figure out ways to use him, he is going to be absolutely amazing. So I would put the red stars on him. We can only take him up to 3 now. Unless you win one of the top 150 rewards in the whale event, but wouldn't hold my breath for that. But we'll be taking them up to 3 red stars as quickly as I can. I am in Masters 1. I'm at 1948, so right on the verge of being in Masters 2. Hopefully this week goes well. But we'll be getting them fairly quickly. It was 60 shards in Masters 1. I think it's actually supposed to be 65, but I got 60 of them through that retroactive mail. So he's going to be amazing. Power him up as quickly as you can. And thank you, Scopely, for giving him the day of release for free. All right, so next going to talk about just the direction of the game. I know quite a few people have been talking about this specifically with the announcement of the new warriors, what's going on with Room 5. And I think, one thing that was different this time in Scopely's blog post, they just directly called out this strategy. Like, they aren't even beating around the bush. They aren't pretending that there's just this whole, hey, create a problem and hey, sell it. It was directly called out in the blog talking about this horrible Room 5 that, oh yeah, they just made that, by the way, not too long ago. But this horrible Room 5, and hurry to get your new warriors because, he's going to be needed for Quicksilver. He's going to be needed. They're going to be needed for who knows what and just anything with Crucible. And yeah, so everyone's been frustrated by that. It's pretty understandable, and just the direction of what they did with Heroes for Hire, copying that now for Crucible, where they create a problem, they sell you a solution. It's been said. So pretty frustrating with Crucible only having 6 rooms. They'll be able to dictate that fairly easily. And it's just going to be weird that the game's going to be based on these like gimmicks and counters specific versus just the players having like more power in general. So maybe it's a way to mitigate power creep in a sense, because they aren't just doing it with stats, they're doing it with specific counters to specific gimmicks. But overall, it just doesn't feel good, and I don't think it's a positive direction. In addition with that, there's another thing causing the same dynamic of us not having agency, not really getting to choose. And that's what's going on with the invaders, how the releases changed, and these events and milestones that they have out right now where you have to have your invaders up to T13, etc. So this is a hero collector game, so I mean, at the end of the day, there's I guess nothing wrong with getting rewards for the collection aspect of the game. But in general, what's so great about this game is the combat, and there's a few different modes that showcase that, arena, war, raid, crucible, whatever. But the combat is just amazing in this game, and we want to be powering up our characters and have that agency based on what's going to do better in that combat within expectations that that combat increase will get us more rewards that'll let us power up our characters faster. So we don't want to power up our characters because, oh yeah, if we get them to T13 here, then we can just get for free at that point this extra reward that's solely a function of getting him up to an arbitrary milestone as opposed to a function of how good he actually is in combat. So, is it a huge deal? No, I think most people want to take their invaders up anyways, knowing the new raid's coming. But this is just going to continue. It's just another way. It's kind of in line of how the community manager's just been running around like screaming that rebirth and invaders are mandatory just to try and force you to buy them, try and have that fear of missing out where you really need them. And this is another way of doing that, where now if you don't get them, you don't get those extra training mats, or you don't get the extra rewards from the event and have to power them up. So again, nothing game breaking, but all these things are just pointing to us losing more and more agency and not being able to really theory craft, not being able to put our resources into who we want based on the combat modes we like and who's going to do best in those modes. So with that said, get off my soapbox and let's go through a little fun exercise and a gold promo review. So here is a list. Pathfinder Gaming recently did a top 15 on gold promos, and if you guys haven't seen him, please check him out. He is an amazing theory crafter. Has some of the best Crucible videos out there with the way he does the summary of them, and then goes into specific fights too. I just have a lot of respect for the guys that don't have the biggest. They aren't the 60 million, the 55 million accounts, but they're still swimming with the whales in Crucible and War. And he is definitely one of them, so it's worthwhile to listen to what he has to say. Additionally, I did reach out and make sure he was cool with me using his name and using his list for this video, so appreciate that, Pathfinder. But want to go through this. I think overall this is a great list, and this is such valuable information as we're all looking who to buy those valuable red stars on. So not going to go through this in detail or every single name. You can see it there on the picture, but a few things that I'd change. So number one, the top 2 I think are pretty obvious, and there's a pretty big gap between 1 and 2 and then the rest of the field. So Pathfinder had Kang number 1 and Spider Weaver number 2. And again, those are the right 2 characters for sure. It's almost splitting hairs, but I do think Spider Weaver should be number 1. And the main reason for that is right now, Kang and Cosmic Crucible, where he's the most valuable, it's not that great in War. I'm sure we'll find uses for him, but his value is mainly Cosmic Crucible, and he's amazing there. He's amazing everywhere. Arena as well. But in Cosmic Crucible, he's taking on typically the Wakanda. And and those incremental red stars right now aren't that valuable. So he is one of the best, if not the best characters in the game. So it never hurts to put red stars on him. He's still new, so if you got those yellow stars, he'll be valuable for a long time. So put the red stars on him. But I think just because of that craziness of Room 6 and Crucible and Kang really being pigeonholed there, and, best case, like you just wipe him on Kang's ult if he's a little more powerful, and maybe get 1 or 2 more points of efficiency. That I just don't know if he deserves that #1 spot right now, even though his character, it's worth it. So I'd put Spider Weaver #1. I feel just that extra power is a little more valuable for her in all game modes right now. But again, it's splitting hairs. They're both amazing. Next thing where I feel is a little different, Pathfinder did have Icarus and Cersei at 3 and 4, so it was kind of the combo, so this may not be a fair distinction, but Icarus is one that I've been maxing out every chance I get. Every time I get a level up, I power him up. I took him to 6 red stars, taking him, just as strong as I can. And so I think that's definitely worth it. But Cersei, I actually have my Cersei still at level 87, and that's maybe not the best advice. She is amazing. It's more than just the combo. She does great damage. You really want her as big as you can too. But I think that she falls off a little bit when we're looking at the absolute best characters to put red promos in. I don't think her kit is as dependent on damage as Icarus is, with the ultimate and the ability to flip on kill. So even though she's great, even though she's part of that, she is not where I'd put my red promos. So if I had, Kang, Spider Weaver, and Icarus done, I would not do Cersei next. And probably she wouldn't even make my top 15 list here, although maybe she'd fall between 10 and 15. So while talking about those top spots, I will say I think the one bigger miss from Pathfinder, even though it's a great list, is Nakia. I think with gold promos, you have to look not only are who the best characters, but who does that extra, normally damage, but focus is always really big too. Who does that impact the most? And Nakia's ping, especially in war, doing 350% piercing damage that's out of turn and happens on every single turn until she runs out of charges, which is usually like 8 turns in a row. It's just crazy. It doesn't matter if they're stealth. It does not matter. And you can usually control who it's attacking by who you attack first. So for perspective, Kang's ultimate, that is just one of the craziest damage in the game, is 300% piercing. Now he puts defense down there, so there's some other things. But Nakia is the highest damage in the game. She's over 100,000 damage stat. So she's not going away anywhere soon, and I think she is well worth the gold promo. Probably coming in at #4 on my list, maybe #3, 3 to 5, somewhere in that range. So definitely consider Nakia there. Again, besides that, the rest of the list is pretty good. I think Peggy Carter and Captain America, I don't really have them on my radar for gold promos. Pathfinders probably do a lot harder raids than I am, and with the new raid coming out, knowing Rebirth will be mandatory, right? That's probably not bad advice at all, but I just don't have them there. I focus more on the PvP teams for this. With that said, I think Dark Beast and Nemesis at #8 and 9 is still pretty valuable because of their availability in PvP modes with that Death Seed team. So that team just seems a little better than other raid teams outside of raids, and therefore I think they're worth it. So only other differences that I'll point out, Kestrel I would probably put much higher. I would put Kestrel around #5, probably right after Nick Fury. And then Omega Red I would not put in my top 15. I think he's just a little too old. A lot of his value is based on percentage damage that's not impacted by the red stars. So even though that helps keep him a little bit from being able to be power crept, I think it does still make the gold promo not as valuable on him. So again, huge shout out to Pathfinder for a great list and for all the great content he does. And hopefully that little reaction there and going through my opinions on those gold promos was helpful. So that is my video for today, guys. Thank you for watching this. As always, I give you my word that this is the best advice I have. All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Peace.